lost it. I don't know what the word count is.
You lost what? Your writing?
Yeah.
You lost the piece?
I think so.
What?
You're gonna have to transcribe it from what you read aloud.
Yeah. Right.
Just to add it.
Oh no, that's terrible.
I don't know what happened to it.
All right, well, I'm recording, so welcome to the Postcast.
Here we are. It's the Postcast. Woo-hoo! We've been talking about doing this for so long. This is really neat that we're finally making it happen.
Right.
Yes, excited.
Very excited.
Okay. Well, we didn't even talk about who was going to go first or what this format was going to be like or anything.
Yeah, so all of our Patreon supporters get to watch us discuss that and decide how this is going to work. That's the whole point of the Postcast, though, right? Yeah. That's the whole point of the Postcast is like it's more real. This is what it looks like behind the scenes. And did you guys realize during that whole podcast that the isolation booth was sticking out in the background there? Like that's attractive.
It's a tool.
Yeah, there it is. The old isolation booth.
Yes, that's Jennifer's. Which novel is that, Jen, that you outlined?
This is the one, this is Searching for Anna, available on Amazon and other booksellers right now. You can get the link below.
I think you should pull that out of there, and you should show them why you call it an isolation booth. So what it is?
I didn't call it an isolation booth. Let's start with that.
She was being antisocial on our writing trip, and she would put this bad boy in front of her face, and then it's one of those science fair. Look at it.
Yeah.
So then she would disappear behind that, but it was really convenient for her because she could find a plot point in her story, and maybe you need to do that for your contemporary, Jen.
Probably. Yeah, that's probably not a bad idea. So, like as you can see, this is Act 1, Act 2, Part 1, Act 2, Part 3, and then Act 4. And then the disasters are at the bottom, what was going to happen. And then I could put Post-it notes. There were a lot more Post-it notes. They've kind of fallen off.
I think the next time you need to give that to Rhonda, and she could decorate your disasters with like flames and like
yeah, it would be much
stickers
prettier.
of Godzilla or whatever.
It would be
that
much
would
prettier.
Disasters aren't
giant Bujo journal.
Yeah, it'd be much prettier if Rhonda did it. We all know that. So I keep it for I don't know why, because like the book's done and I don't need it anymore. But it's kind of it's nostalgic.
Well, it's hard to throw something like that away.
Right.
You should take pictures of it. Okay, so yeah. So since this is the first time, we're not really sure how eager the watchers are for us to just get down to business and stop chit-chatting already.
Right.
But that seems to be the mode that I get into. So let's quit the chit-chat. No.
All right.
Get down to business. Should I use a randomizer?
Yes. Let's do that.
Okay.
And then we'll see who gets to go next. While you're doing that, I'm just going to kind of talk a little bit about that. So yes, you're tuning into the very first Postcast, but there'll be other things that we're going to be adding to our Patreon. You'll be able to see different levels that you'll be able to sign up for that will include different insider information, different resources, but the meat and the heart of what we're doing in the Postcast in our Patreon is our Postcast, which is when we as a group will submit our writing to each other and give each other constructive feedback and but in a real natural way, so that our Patreon supporters can not only see how we give feedback, but you also get a little bit of insider knowledge and insight into what we're working on before anybody else gets to see it. Like the things we're sharing right now are actual works that we're working on in like months and months before we'd ever would release them. So it's exciting for you guys. It's scary as all get out for us, but hopefully you'll get something out of it. This isn't just about showing off our work. It's about helping you as writers to move forward, as well as helping ourselves move forward. So
yeah, it's excellent accountability here with you all, and I hope that our listeners feel the same way. I hope that they're setting their own goals and meeting them,
Yeah.
All right. So Randy Miser did not let me down.
So you're last place again?
Yes, I am last. Rhonda.
It's rigged.
I don't know why you guys keep letting me be the one to do the randomized.
I don't know either.
She just keeps hitting again until last.
Now, are we reading? We've already all read them, so we're not reading the pieces out loud, correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
And we're just posting them for our patrons to be able to read the little bits that they are. And I will have you know that the piece I submitted is going to be one of the first pieces that I put on my own Patreon for, $1 a month subscription level, and it'll be $2.99 once I pull it. So if y'all are getting enticed into reading this story, you can become my patron and check it out. Okay, so Rhonda is first, Jen is second, Tina is third, and
Jamie is last.
Last but not least.
Every time.
I don't know. All right, so what did I say, Rhonda? All right, so in the past, when we've given these critiques, we have told the person who wrote the piece that they cannot speak, that they have to go into the isolation chamber and not give not give any feedback on what we say until we release them, until we feel like we have thoroughly discussed the piece. Do we all wish to keep that format?
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I don't like not talking, but I'm outvoted.
Yes, we are not surprised. Okay, so now, but before I think we send people to their isolation chamber, because we kind of didn't have the discussion, I need to know what is the feedback you're even looking for from the piece so that we don't spend an hour, debating tense or something if the writer doesn't even care about that. So I think before we send people away today, we'll ask them what is the feedback they're looking for. So hopefully we'll get to it. What do you think?
Sounds
Fair
great.
enough?
Yep, I think that's great.
All right, so John Rhonda, I call her that because she shares a Facebook account with her husband, and every time her name pops up, it says John Rhonda. So
It's better
John
than her
Rhonda.
other nickname.
All right now. Okay, so John Rhonda,
Yes.
we would like to know what were you looking for as far as your feedback here?
All right. So this is the prologue. I don't know why I've given these to you backwards, but this is, you know what a prologue is? Do you think that it's prologue-y? Should it be a scene at the beginning of the story instead, since you've already read the first two scenes? Just does it make sense? Did it fall off track somewhere? And also, I do not know how this happened, but you guys are missing the last two paragraphs of this prologue. So there probably is a lot of hangy stuff there that you don't understand, or that, maybe it just doesn't seem prologue because you're missing this. I'm not sure. So I can read those to you after if you want, or not. It's totally up to you guys.
All right, well, how about we debate the merits of that? Yes, so she's gone into her isolation booth. Okay, so who wants to start? I think I want to start by addressing the extra two paragraphs, because Rhonda had offered to give them, and I almost feel like this could be done after the last cutting off any more chatter. Like if this is a prologue, I feel like it could end right there, and I wouldn't miss, I don't know what information she could possibly offer me that I would need, because, I know she's calling Nettie, and Nettie knows about this drama or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Or Nettie doesn't know because she's about to share it with her. But so
yes.
I'm kind of with you. I think that stopping at cutting off any more chatter, kind of was like, oh, well, what is it she wants to talk with Nettie about? It makes me want to continue reading into the next chapter.
What do you think, Tina? You need two more paragraphs?
No, I have no opinion. I can critique it how it is, or I can listen to the next two paragraphs.
This would be a great postcast if all you're doing is I have no opinion.
No,
I don't know why I'm
on
here.
that particular subject.
Oh,
Maybe
okay.
Tina's fans are people of short words or whatever, little words. Okay, so do you feel like this is prologue-y?
Once she said that it was prologue, that helped me out, because I know we've read the other things. I know we're getting things out of order, but I wasn't thinking that this was out of order. I thought it was like we've read those other two chapters, and all of a sudden I thought we were in the middle of a new character.
Oh.
So
Well, that's going to really affect how you felt about the piece, I'm sure.
It will,
because-
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it can work as a prologue if we're going to be inside of Victoria's head more than just this. A prologue needs to, if you're going to use it, maybe this is a rule for romance. So I guess I need to be careful how I say this, but in romance, the sooner you introduce us to the main love interest, the better. Like, you don't want to leave us hanging for a long time. And so as a prologue, we're introduced to this character. And so I'm expecting, now that she told me this is a prologue, that the story is largely about Victoria Madison and that she's going to be a character in it a lot. Because
well, then let me give, a little piece of feedback that I was going to say, I think speaks to your point. Okay. Because I was going to say, I want that letter introduced earlier. Because like you, I don't think the prologue is about Victoria as much as it's about that letter.
Yes.
And so I do appreciate, while I love the little details that I circled here, the Japanese knotbag and all of this stuff.
The Pomeranian guard dog.
That told me so much about that dog.
And the person that owns her.
I love this dog because then he sniffs his displeasure and whatever. So I could talk all day about the Pomeranian. Loved him. Right. So, but I would say that I would maybe get to seeing the letter a little sooner. Maybe that's what you're feeling. So instead of it being get to the love interest sooner, get to the mystery of it sooner. Because if I didn't know that I was getting to meet Nettie in the next chapter, I wonder if this would suck me in. Because there's no action. It's just sort of a describe-y scene. And I don't know because I don't really read cozy so much.
Right.
So maybe it's a genre thing again.
Right.
But I wonder because I'm excited about this story because I love Nettie and I love the daughter's name that I cannot remember. But I don't know if I would feel compelled to read further without knowing the mystery a little sooner.
Right.
Because once I got that little taste of a mystery about to unfold, I was like, ooh, this is kind of delicious because she doesn't even tell us the whole thing. She just says there's a letter behind the picture, and it's so cryptic and fun.
Yeah, the description is so great in this part. Like, I just love all the details. I love, like, the other thing that caught me is, like, how old is Victoria? Her husband was 88, his last birthday. So she's got to be up there. You know what I mean? And
Nettie's pretty old.
28.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry. Isolation booth. If I have to be quiet, so do you. I'm gonna talk bad about Ron. I'm gonna talk bad about Rhonda now. She can't say anything.
About to go down.
No.
Oh boy. But like for me, it would even be better if she had the paper in her hand and then put it behind the frame, or just if she could just introduce it a little sooner, so she could keep all of that stuff in there.
Yeah. Or how about just start off with Victoria? Was it Madison? Victoria Madison picked up a picture frame of her. Holding a picture of her two daughters that she had long ago lost a relationship with, period. She cracked open the back. Do you know what I mean? Like, you go straight to that. And then, she can write it better than I just said, let's be honest, but go straight to that, like, and get us there sooner. Now, but I caveat all that with, if we're going to be inside Victoria's head in a lot of the book, then everything I said is wrong. Like, that's totally fine. But we've only seen Nettie and the granddaughter. So
well, you know what I'm sorry.
So I'm just saying, like, I feel like that I agree with you. I get to the letter faster, and then pepper this stuff in maybe later, or if we're not in her head at all, then But again, I don't read cozy mysteries. So this
reminds me of like Matlock or Murder, She Wrote, how in the beginning there's like a set the stage sort of a scene where it's like you kind of don't really you discover about this person as the mystery is unfolded, right? And so I think that to your point, even more of this detail about losing the sisters can come up later in conversations.
Right. It's backwards. I couldn't see it.
Oh no, it's backwards.
Sorry.
Okay. So the Matlock thing, I totally get, and if that's the direction that it's going in, then we got to get outside of her head. It's got to be somebody else on the outside saying the elderly woman grabbed the picture frame and blah blah blah. Like, don't give us all the background details. That's what we'll find out later. But I love that whole Matlock analogy. I totally get that, but we're so inside her head and getting so much information that it doesn't feel like that to me. But
gotcha.
But she's so good at this that it's like, this is just so beautifully written.
Their other little bit of mystery besides the letter is like the movement at the shrubbery.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
So that's another part of the mystery that maybe if she moved it forward a little bit. I loved the description in this, and the setting of the scene and the word pictures that she figured out. I did get slowed down a little bit by some of the vocabulary that I had to look up, but other than that, this was really good, and I really love the mystery part of it. I'm like a big mystery fan, and I want to know what the mystery is. Like I'm mad that this is over. I actually wrote, I don't know if you can see this, but I wrote, what? So, yeah, I loved it.
Awesome.
Okay, so I totally agree with everything that you said. I mean, my first piece of bread is, of course, this dog, and just this. I want this dog. Like, if this woman dies, can the dog go live with Nettie? Like, can the dog live on no matter what? I mean, even if like a future book in the series, the dog returns, I would just love it. And then, so then, as far as meat, I would say the paragraphs describing sort of the relationships with the daughters and the son-in-law and how he didn't get along with the husband. Again, if I harken back to what a Matlock episode feels like, that's stuff that conversations happen a little later in the story. And then also, I would have loved an example of how Nettie was full of self-confidence and spunk in school. Like, did she climb the flagpole? Did she do something outrageous in the cafeteria? Like just one example of crazy Nettie and how she was always someone that I admired. Like, why? What did she do? And then there was one other place where I thought I would want a description. Oh, I thought it was really interesting how it said, death came to Michael last month. Loved that. And then he had built the house in his honor. Death's honor or Michael's own honor? I kind of liked that. I wondered what she was saying there, but it's ambiguous, and I don't know if the author wants to leave it ambiguous. But
I thought she meant in his own honor. Like he built and it kind of told me something about him, and I liked that part.
Maybe if she just added the word own in there, I know who she was referring to, but maybe she meant death. I don't know. It's an argument, I guess.
Yeah.
But my other piece of bread is it's a great story of intrigue, and I'm really excited to see what is the mystery? What does the letter say? And how can Nettie fix it? And so
my first piece of bread is that the story is very well written, and I love that the character is an older woman with a past. I just love that because that helps to draw you in too. But the meat of it for me is, I'm going to disagree with Jamie a little bit. I want less description. Like, I just really want to open this book up and see the elderly woman grab for the picture frame and open it up. There's there's a letter. What was she going to do about it? Maybe if she called Nettie, boom. Do you know what I mean? Like, then we're like, what? Like, all right, so better than what I said, but it'd be about the letter, maybe the noise in the bushes, because we don't know what that is yet, and then just go be outside of her head and just go straight into, think about the Matlock shows, how there's like, it's only a real quick clip of something that happens at the beginning, and then you go to Matlock, and then that's when the people come in and things start happening. So
I wouldn't disagree with a single thing you said, but I would still want to know why Nettie. So I would chop out everything else and do just what you said, but I would want to know specifically what about Nettie makes her the one. So she inspired me to be confident, but like how? So, but otherwise I would totally be like, yes, that's a great direction to go with this. So yes. So we don't disagree as much as you think we do.
Oh,
so what I'm trying to say. Are we going to fight?
Well, I disagree with both of you, and I really
good.
like the description and the setting of the scene.
Would you call it a prologue, or would you call it like chapter 1?
I think it could go either way. Maybe those last two paragraphs may clinch it, but...
How would you feel if you went forward in the story and you were never again in the woman's head? These are just questions that I want to know from a different perspective.
Yeah, well, in that case, if we're not going to be in Victoria's head, then it would be prologue-y.
It would what?
It would definitely be prologue-y.
Awesome. Sorry, your microphone cut out. I didn't hear you. Okay, well, that's good. So does anyone have anything else to say, or should we let her out? She's chomping at the bit to get out. I think we should leave her in there unnecessarily. I'm going to go get a drink. All right, so I think we should release her. What do you think?
Yep.
All right, go,
Let her
Rhonda.
go.
All right. Can I read it or not?
Read the 2 paragraphs?
Yes, read the 2
Yeah.
paragraphs.
It's really
Yeah,
4
go for
sentences. It's not even paragraphs.
She really wants to, so let's let her do it.
All right. So you ended at sweater. She tucked the phone back in her sweater pocket and started back to the desk. But this time, something was at the patio door, and it wasn't the wind. She watched the knob turn. Who would be coming at this hour? Unannounced and in this weather? She looked down at her hands and realized that she still clutched the piece of paper that she had taken from its hiding place, the bookcase next to where she stood. She turned and grabbed the well-worn copy of History of Civil War Heroes of Shiawassee County and quickly stuffed the paper into the spine of the book. She tucked the tome back in its place on the shelf just as the patio door opened.
So they're
That's
going to find it by accident because she knows that they're the people who are going to look.
Maybe they will.
I think she's going to get murdered.
I think
and
so
then,
too. Dun, dun, dun.
Murdered?
So
Oh,
then we
Victoria.
won't be inside her head anymore. So okay.
Oh, the poor little dog. That was sad. He failed at his guard dog duty.
Right.
Yeah, where's the
Unless he
bird
doesn't
dog?
make it either. She's not telling me.
So-
Torture.
So that does change.
I've told you enough.
That does change it a bit for me then, because if she's dead, then of course we're not going to be inside her head, so we won't be able to revisit any of this stuff at all. So we have to know it right now. So got it. It did make a big difference.
Well, I would still
Okay.
say that we can discover her bad relationships with the daughters later when whoever goes to interview them to talk about. I mean, because you're gonna have interactions with a Matlock episode. You go to his office and you talk to him. You go to the sisters at the funeral and one of them makes a scene. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so you're going to be able to get that information from those situations, because those particular paragraphs felt very like, oh, I need to make sure you all know this before I kill this person. To me, when it could just organically maybe unfold. And then also it would give Nettie a chance to be her quirky self during the talking and the girl to be embarrassed and all of that. And, Nettie could sniff out, yeah, you say you loved your mom, but I can tell the stuff wasn't good. I mean, listen to how you talk about her or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it can maybe show to a bit of detail. Sorry, you're not in isolation anymore, Rhonda. Do you disagree?
No. I agree. I do agree.
She's just not going to give us anything. She's
Right.
No, I'm not.
Which I'm
We
glad.
have to
I
read.
can't wait. So excited.
I know, this is going to be a really fun read.
torture.
So what is the schedule to get back to working on this? Because I know Mom is doing art stuff. Your mom does beautiful artwork, by the way.
Oh, thank you. She gets her talent from me. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't get any of her painting talent.
So is there a projected is segment 2 time that's coming to us? Are we going to get more of this story?
Yes, you will.
All right.
She's ready to start writing again.
Yay!
We've already started brainstorming the next.
Cool.
Brainstorming and back feeding. Is your back feeling significantly fed?
Yes. Very good feedback. Thank you very much, ladies.
All right.
Who's next? I forgot already. Not me.
Jamie. Or not Jamie. Jennifer.
I think it was
All
me.
your names start with J.
Except for you.
That's like a big no-no in books because you get the names mixed up.
So Rhonda, your name starts with J because of your Facebook.
You know what?
Well,
My youth group
John
that I
Rhonda.
used to be part of.
Yep.
Oh yes,
I know.
that's right.
That's what I was saying. Like, yeah.
Well, my youth group when I was in high school, it was all J's.
Oh, wow.
And there was 12 of us. I think they were all J's. So they started calling me Jane. So
Oh.
this isn't new to me.
So should we call Tina Jane so she could fit in?
Yes.
Or Gina. Oh wait,
Look
we
at
have
her
a Gina.
face,
Never
like,
mind.
do not call me Jane.
You can call me Jasmine.
Oh,
There you
Oh,
go.
wow.
well, for picking names,
Okay.
I want to be Esmeralda.
Oh, wow.
I don't know where that came from.
I want to be Holga.
You would want to be Holga.
There's a character in Flannery O'Connor's books. She renames herself Holga, like legally renames herself Holga, because she wants to make her mom really angry, because she knows her mother will hate that she gave herself such an ugly name.
That's crazy.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Anyway, so are you ready to go and stop talking, Jen?
Never, but I will.
Should we go tell your husband that you're not going to talk for the next?
Get the duct tape.
Okay, so she's in isolation. Oh, wait. What kind of feedback are you looking for this?
Well, for the listeners to know, last time that we got together, not on the Postcast, but just as a group, I shared the first chapter of my latest novel and that I'm working on. And you guys, especially Rhonda, hated my female character. And which is not a good thing when you're writing romance. So I tried to rewrite it, and so I want to know: is she more likable? Did I lose too much of the tension between them? Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Okay,
All right.
back you go into your booth. All right, so I would like to start off by saying that I pestered this author for her original of this because I wanted to be able to compare and contrast, and then I never found the time to look at it because I figured that would help me too late before we started the podcast today. So Rhonda, go ahead and say if you have something to say.
Okay, first I apologize because my headphones are really, really getting bad. So you guys, then I apologize, but it's because I can't hear you. Okay.
Yeah, you're doing like a Max Headroom thing where you're like,
oh, am I
flickering?
I like Max Headroom. That was a good show. All right. This author did a fantastic job. I'll just tell her right now. I won't leave her in suspense of changing this around because I think Phoebe is still Phoebe. I think she took her unnecessary crankiness out. And for whatever reason, wanted to punish the male character. This is very, very much improved. It's fantastic. I loved reading it. So I give her an A+. I don't even know if I have any meat, to be honest with you. I don't think that Phoebe lost her personality. And the way that her memory came back to her about him was really good. I think that was very effective. So that is what I have to say about this.
Tina?
Okay, well, I loved that she put us right in the action right at the beginning, where she stepped off the train and fell, and I loved the changes in Phoebe's personality that she changed around a little bit, so that she didn't seem so cranky, like I said. Although I didn't hate her in the last one as much as you guys did. I guess
I didn't hate her.
Oh well, I was.
She just wouldn't have been my friend.
I guess maybe I'm a naturally cranky person, so she seemed all right to me. But anyway, but I have to say, this is my meat. I missed that whole paragraph where she was on the train looking out the window.
Oh,
and the tree with the fields of dirt, tilled dirt, and the what's the word I'm looking for? Mm-hmm. You know, where she compared the
ocean,
the stuff rushing by like life, how her life seemed to rush by, and
right.
Did you ever go back and look, because wasn't that just immediately before this? Like, I don't think that she erased it. I think she just only submitted this part because this was where he interacts with her. So I think we might still get to have all of that, and then we go into this.
I hope so. I don't know. I didn't have time to look. No, I didn't.
Well, we'll have to ask this author if that, if that is the case when she is out of her isolation chamber.
Right. And my other piece of bread is I just love this ending. Just the kind of snarky, sarcastic. Well, it's a long walk home. You know, like I love that. So
awesome. Okay, so I'll go. I will say at the outset that I both agree and disagree with both of you. I feel like as far as bread goes, well, it's really difficult to just say 100 times over and over, you're very good at writing romance to someone, but that's what I would say again, because she writes romance that I would like to read, and it's not a genre that I pick up ever. I've tried to read Christian romance, and I typically put it down because it's insipid or whatever, and her characters are grabbing and the plot lines are interesting. So I can't say enough. My piece of bread is this thick, okay? But my meat for this particular piece is I feel like she just killed Phoebe. Like I read this and I read, oh, Will, you ingracious coot or whatever, and she's just robotic and I have to be careful what I say because someone said I'm not being a Christian, and I feel like this gutted the character. So that's why I wanted to look at the old one, because I can't put my finger on the things that she did or took out to make Phoebe seem just frozen chosen and not real to me anymore in this version. She's so just like robotic, because she's trying to be polite and use formal names and everything like that, which I get, but there's, I mean, maybe some more talk about her feeling disheveled and feeling more like a real person. I'm not sure what I'm missing. And so that's why I'm frustrated with myself for not printing out that original, because I feel like she just did a little too much to make Phoebe safe and nice, and we lost a little bit of the edge that keeps her Phoebe. I know that Rhonda disagrees with me because she said she felt like nothing was lost. So I feel bad for the author, because that means that there's choices to make. She can go back to her original and say, I'm going to lose all my romance readers like Rhonda, or she can, stick with this and lose people who would never pick up her book otherwise, possibly. I don't know. Or figure out, which I'm no help, because I did not print out the original to try to help her. So I will maybe be willing to do that after. And then, so of course, I'll follow it with another big piece of bread of like, I know what happens next. I'm sure going to keep reading. And I think that this also, I know that the author was under a lot of pressure to get the piece submitted in time, because life and all of that stuff. So maybe this is, with a little more time, would be even a little different. So,
okay, I have a question, Jamie. I understand what you're saying by that. But do you think that, or the way that I took it, is that there's no familiarity between them right now. They were familiar as children, and she's just seeing him again for the first time in who knows how many years. And now she's a proper young Christian woman. So I just felt like, and not being robotic so much, but just being formal like you would be in the beginning of the 20th century, with someone that you don't know very well.
I mean, I think that I totally hear what you're saying, but I was remembering the Phoebe from the train who was unsure. And I spent all this time at Bible school, but what did it really do for me? And so she felt real and warm to me on the train. And then here she feels stifled and stiff. And like, I don't know, maybe the author can give us hints that like, this is not how I'm supposed to behave around a gentleman, even if it is Will Caffey. And I'm so confused, like maybe that would help. But this just does not feel like the girl on the to me. But I do understand what you're saying. Like she's going to have decorum and kind of all of this. And especially with familiarity being different back in this day than it would be like nowadays, right? Nowadays you might see someone you saw in kindergarten and hug them. And that would never happen.
Right.
Anything else? Anyone else want to?
That's all I have. I hope it's good enough for her.
All right, should we release her?
Let's let her talk.
What do you say, Jen?
Oh man, it's so hard not to talk. Okay, first of all, that beginning part is still there.
Yay!
I thought that Jamie had made the statement that we had to keep our writing to 1,000 words, which is another reason why I struggled this week to submit something, because I could have submitted something different, but I had nothing that was 1,000 words or less. All of my scenes are at least 1,500, but then you guys submitted like 1,700 word things, so maybe I misinterpreted that. I don't know. So that's why that wasn't on there. It's still there. That whole scene is there, and if I had known it was going to cause this kind of problems, I would have just, made sure you guys had it. Sorry. So, and I'll make sure I put the document that our Patreon listeners, viewers have. I'll make sure it's in that document. But I have to side with Jamie. I think I feel like I killed Phoebe. I feel like she is sassy and she's not a good Christian girl. She wants to be. She loves God, but she does not fit in with the society that she lives in. She does not fit in with the kids, the women that were at college, and part of that is because her character needs to have she needs to become nicer. She needs to not be so judgmental, but at the same time, I mean, I need to figure out a way of writing that without people hating her. Like, I don't want it to
Yeah,
the point
because
where they hate her.
I mean, I didn't disagree with Rhonda before when she told you she was too mean. That's
Yeah.
why I feel like my feedback is not helpful to you, because I don't like this, but I didn't like that. So how am I helping you?
Right.
So I would really like to revisit that and have a face-to-face maybe, so that I
Yeah.
can say, oh, well, this bit here seems unnecessarily harsh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
And then maybe I'll
And then-
resubmit again the same piece, because this is the very opening chapter. It has to be right. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta get this right, because this is the first thing people are going to read, and if it's not right, then the whole book is ruined.
Well, and again, if this girl were on the train, and then if this girl were at her parents' house being stuck up to everybody and like, no, I'm a proper Christian now. You cannot come to me, little sister from the mud pile, you know, and oh, go wash your hands, Susie Q. Then this would make sense. But that's not who she is. She's very much like a warmer person. She's just not warm toward him, but it came off as mean how she
Yeah.
treated him. So
Yeah.
like, I didn't disagree with Rhonda, but I totally, this is not the same girl.
And let me ask you guys about, I think I missed the mark with the proper names and the formality. That when I first wrote it, it was supposed to be sarcasm. Like, he's calling her Phoebes and she hates it, and she's calling him Constable, because she is trying to put this like wall between them, like, you know, like a formality. It wasn't meant to be, oh, I'm so proper, I have to speak this way. It wasn't like that. It was like specifically for him, you know, excuse me, Constable. Like, that's how it was supposed to be, but I'm clearly missing the mark on that. So maybe I need to.
Well, maybe that's one of the things that needed to go back in, because the weird dialogue about, oh, it's Mr. Caffey now would then disappear. And so, you know, like, so maybe some of the old needs to come in with some of that new, and it can.
Yeah.
I totally picked up on the sarcasm, though. Like, I didn't think she was being stuffy, or I just thought she was being sarcastic.
Okay, but did you pick up on it because you know me and my writing, or like, do you think?
Yeah, it might be because I read it last time, and I know who Phoebe is.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So yeah, so it needs work still. It's like very frustrating, because I of all my books so far, these are my favorite characters. These are the ones I started with. They actually are the ones that launched the rest of the series, even though it's the third book. And I love them. I love Will. He's my favorite hero. So this just has to get right. So.
Well, and I would just say, like, it was so funny because if there was like a meanness spectrum, you went from here to here when you could have just went somewhere here. And if you can find that spot, I don't think it would be too difficult. Maybe just redraft it. Like, don't look at either one and just start from, she stepped off the train and flew into the, and see what happens when you retype it. And don't worry about what was in the other versions.
Yeah, that's a
and
good
see
idea.
what comes out. Now that you have kind of an idea, okay, just don't be quite as mean.
And if all else fails, I'm just going to make her mean, because I really do not love at all the new Phoebe. I just don't like it at all. But
I liked her kind of mean, so. But, you know, it's probably a personality problem on my part.
all right, well, great, guys. That was good feedback. Thank you. Thank you.
All
for your
right,
honesty.
so is your back feeling really fed?
It's feeling very fed. Thank you.
Awesome. Angelica and Chubiak.
All right.
All right, what kind of feedback are you looking for? Sorry, I'm totally just taking over like a big.
I'm trying to remember what I submitted.
When she goes to see her grandpa.
Oh, okay. So this is a lot of. It could come off as a lot of telling, because she's taking care of her grandpa, and he's going to tell her the story that is going to propel her into the quest that she's supposed to go on. So I don't want it to be too telly. You know what I mean? And I don't want to lose my readers with too much. So I'm trying to interject things that she's doing. You know, she stirred this and all that in there, so that it's not just him talking the whole time or whatever.
Well, just so you know, it ends with the first journal entry, and Grandpa is still delirious in the section that we have.
Okay, never mind then.
So it starts with her meeting up with Petra. He's taking the dogs away. And then it ends with the first journal entry. So Grandpa is not well.
So I just want to know if it grabs you, and if it.
Uh-oh, are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, if it grabs you in what, your mic cut out.
If it works, if it makes sense.
And this is not chapter 1, scene 1.
No, there's like 2,500 words before this. And this is actually just one section of 3 scenes that go together. Because there was so much in this scene, I had to break it down into 3 scenes and think about putting some other scenes in between. So I have it broke down into part 1, 2, and 3. So she has this long conversation with her grandpa.
Awesome. Okay, so goodbye. All right, ladies.
All right.
I'll go first. So that because I feel like I'm coming at the end and saying I disagree with everybody all the time. So I'm just gonna go first. I'm gonna say first of all that my first piece of bread will be the descriptive language. This author is always very awesome at putting me right into Alaska. And then also this little bit here, passing the A-frame log homes without seeing them, which is great because this girl obviously doesn't care about the human structures, but she sure notices all of God's creation. I thought that was very telling about the character. So my first piece of bread is yay, description. I would give some meat in that, no, this does not grab me until Grandpa is feverish. So if it were me, I would chop the whole first page and a half. Angelica wiped the sweat from her grandfather's forehead. Boom, I'm in it. What? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. Then all of the description of sickness. If Petra wants to show up to take the dogs during the caretaking of the grandfather, I'm cool with that. But I don't know necessarily that we need the description of the village and the journey to the village. If we need the encounters with the other characters in that first page and a half, I would put them after this scene of the grandfather being delirious is amazing. You totally, I forgot I was reading to edit. I got totally lost in the story of him hallucinating and thinking he was seeing his daughter and all of this stuff. So to get right to that would make me very excited and happy. But again, if you have to introduce Petra and you have to introduce the dogs being taken away, fine. I get that. But then how did she know Petra before? Well, he seems different. Different from what? Different from who? So she says, Petra seemed different. And it does not give us any kind of and then later she says, well, we were at school together as a child. But again, I would like to just see a couple of, I remember playing with a hoop and stick or whatever, and how he used to be so carefree and sort of more of a show don't tell about him if he shows up. Because she may not even meet him in this. And then I read and everything is fantastic. The journal entry is fantastic. It makes me say, ooh, we leave in the morning, ooh, mystery and adventure. So super fantastic and awesome after the first page and a half. And that's my whole critique.
What do you think, Rhonda?
My turn. All right. Okay, where do I start? Okay, the description, you're absolutely right. Description is good as usual. She's very good at that. And one thing I like books that teach me something about, I've never been to Alaska. I've seen those shows on Alaska. And so, I know a little bit from there, which who knows, whatever. But just adding in the forget-me-nots and the salmon berries and spruce trees. And, it helps me set the scene because I haven't been there. I know what those plants are. So it helps bring me in. And besides, they're plants. And I love plants. Okay, so let's see. The description language. Descriptions are always good. Now, if I had any meat, I would have to say that the first line, Angelica hurried through the village, passing A-frame log homes. That made me feel like, oh, well, we're in an action scene right away. We're getting tossed right into it. And, I need to read fast to find out what's happening. But then I think that there was, I'm not saying too much description. I think I would prefer the description somewhere else because it was like, you're in a hurry, we got to get going. But then all of a sudden we're putting the brakes on to notice all these plants around us. But like I said, I don't want that description taken out. I think it's the right amount, maybe just in a different spot for me. Now, when this writer was asking for feedback, she was my headphones were messing up. So did she ask for what part of it grabbed you, or was that just what you added? She did ask
asked,
for that.
does it grab you? Does it make you want to keep reading?
Okay. Now, certain scenes that she's written, they grab me and they're like, oh, what's happening next? This one didn't grab me like that, but I did want to continue reading. So hopefully that's helpful to her. I don't know. Because I'm not saying it's a bad scene or an unnecessary scene. I think it belongs in there, but grabbing me probably is not how I would describe how I was reading through it. Let's see. Everything made sense. I heard her say that. Let's see. Oh, you mentioned the delirium scene. Yes, that was really good. I like that quite a bit. And about the journal, I think everybody knows I love journals of all sorts. Even if they're 200 years in the future, it's still a historic journal. I liked it. That was very good, I thought. Now, I have a question. I don't know if you two know this or not, but is Petra the same character as he was in her first rendition of this book?
I'm
Or
not
is he
sure.
different?
I think he's similar. He's a good guy, but it's similar, but she's rewriting it some
Right.
from what I
Okay.
remember.
Okay. Because when I first saw the name, I was like, Petra? But I wasn't sure if.
He wasn't the bad guy. The bad guy was Dominic or something.
Donovan.
Donovan.
Oh, I was thinking Donna. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, so maybe the next time she gives us something to read, it would be helpful if we know if we should expect the characters to be similar to before or after. Or, if this is a new version of them. I think that's really all I have to say. I did enjoy reading it.
Okay.
Your turn, Jen.
I love the description like everyone else says. It's just beautiful. My first piece of bread though is I love the reference to the change in Petra's personality. I think in the other versions of what she's been writing, it was hard to connect for me to connect with Petra. Like it felt like you were all right. You're telling me he's a good guy. You're telling me he's different than his father and different than his brother. But this she actually shows us. I feel like just giving us little bits of things like that about Petra and about how he's changed, and I think that was just so much better than any of the other versions, and I really enjoyed that. I do have to agree with about maybe the too much description. I think though that the description could work if every chapter isn't like this. Like if this is the one chapter where you stop and you start to look at the flowers like that, that's fine. But every chapter can't be like that. Every time we go to a new scene, we can't like look at everything that's in the room. Like for example, I felt like that the description of the room when we got into what was happening with her grandfather, and then she starts describing every single thing that's in the room only to get to the point that the grandfather was looking at this trunk and she went to the trunk. Just tell us Angelica walked to the trunk that her grandfather was looking at. That's all we need, because we can kind of imagine in our head what this cabin looks like. We don't need to have all the details. And maybe if you do get rid of that, a lot of that description, it would take care of what my other piece of meat was. She had some head hopping. We're back inside Chugiak's head again in the second chapter, or second paragraph, even though we're supposed to be in Angelica's head right now. She tells us that.
Let me see if you're right about that.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I noticed it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which I think the problem is because she's writing more than one piece right now. One of the pieces she's writing is completely in Chugiak's head, so I think that just kind of probably bled through, and she just missed that when she was editing this.
I think that this particular writer is throwing that piece of advice out the window intentionally. I'll be curious to know if that's the case, because I think that at some point she had a meltdown that said, I'm going to do whatever I want, because she was reading works of books that are bestsellers that are breaking all of these rules that are supposedly hard and fast rules you never break. And so I'm wondering if she knows that she's head hopping and doesn't even care and being a rebel. But yes,
Yeah.
I did catch that also.
Yeah, maybe. But as far as like putting the description somewhere else, maybe I see what Jamie is saying about, like I hadn't thought about it at first. And when Jamie said that just get straight to the fact that she's wiping her grandfather's brow as she's with him, because that's the meat of it. I get that. Then maybe like the next scene or the next time that you come in, you have her contemplating what she just read in the journal while she's looking out the window, and then you could talk about the flowers and whatnot, and make it matter. Not just the fact that you're giving us the setting, but make it matter that she's looking at the flowers and have it associated with those flowers, something that she's always known and have always come at the same time, but now her life is like thrown upside down because of this journal she never knew existed. You know what I mean? So you make the flowers on purpose, like they have a purpose. They're not just giving us a setting, but there's a purpose in what they're doing in the story. And same thing with Petra. I love what she did with Petra. Maybe he has to show up like as she's contemplating, and again, it's bringing something that always had been kind of a solid thing, but is changing now, and it just keeps showing that like her world is changing whether she wants it to or not. So, but other than that, like, so good. I like this version so much better than the first one, and I like the first one, so this is great. I'm just very excited to read the next installment.
I would agree with you. I mean, yeah, I think that we all are pretty much, no one's fighting. So should we let her out? Does anyone have anything else to add?
Nope.
All right, out you come.
Okay, I'm glad I could bring unity to the group. I really wanted to say beforehand, but I thought, no, that's going to sound like I'm making excuses. But when I first wrote this scene, it was going to be the first chapter. And after I submitted it, because we submitted it like 2 weeks ago, after I submitted it to you guys, I had this whole revelation about my story arc, and I went back and I started writing. I wrote like almost 3,000 words prior to this scene. So I think that the whole description of the village is probably going to come out because it's somewhere else.
Okay.
And I also think that her interactions with Petra are also going to be somewhere else. So it's probably going to start with her, which it started when I first wrote it, very first time, it started with her wiping her grandpa's brow. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I only have 10,000 words in the first act. I need to add words. And so I was like going in there padding. So I think that when I go back and look at it, it is going to start with her wiping the brow. But thank you. I'm glad that you guys gave me that feedback so that I know absolutely, yeah, that's what I got to do.
Yeah. Awesome.
And I do know that I'm hopping into Chugiak's head, and I'm trying to do it in a way that's not actually in his head. Like to say things like, it seemed as if he was saying something.
Right.
Because it is very difficult for me to write Chugiak now, not in his head.
Right.
Because I'm writing a weekly episode of a story in his head. So it's,
yeah, that's what Jen said. Yeah,
it's a little bit. It's stretching me. It's a challenge. So.
Uh-oh.
Did we lose you?
Almost. I don't know. Oh, I just plugged my computer in the nick of time, I guess.
Ooh.
There it goes again. Oh no. I think
we
I
can
might
still see you.
You can still see me? I can't see you guys like at all. I wonder if my computer might be trying to go to sleep because of like the amount of time. I don't know. It says it's plugged in enough. So sorry about that. Sorry to interrupt your feedback.
So I'm trying to remember what else. As far as Petra goes, he is not exactly the same character. The only character who's really staying the same as far as personality goes is probably Donovan, the grandpa, and Angelica.
And Chugiak.
And Chugiak. But Petra's a little different, and his role in the story is different.
Oh, okay.
Because this is just for the viewers, I wrote an original novel, and I started it 10 years ago, and when I went to revise it and edit it, I was struggling because my writing 10 years ago was so different than my writing now. So I decided to completely rewrite the book. And so the plot has changed, the story arc has changed, just it's going to be a totally different story. Did I answer all your questions? I don't know.
I think so.
Okay.
Did we answer all your questions? Do you get enough feedback? Do you feel good about what we said.
Yeah, I'm glad that you liked the scene when he was delirious, because I was worried that it was just much dialogue-y kind of stuff.
No, I love how you introduced the journal entry, and it was just a little tidbit of it, which, I love that, and it draws us in, and then we want to read more. So I think you did that really well.
And to Rhonda's point about learning things, the boiled onion skins was cool to think about. Kind of a remedy that she would try to use.
Yeah, very cool. All right, great. Thanks,
All
Tina.
right. Good job, Tina.
Thank you guys for feeding my back.
You're welcome.
Now it's Jamie's turn.
I know. I don't get to talk. It's horrible.
All
right.
Get my notes out. What kind of feedback are you looking for?
Do you want to keep reading it? Do you like it? Is it glaringly head happy, or in other ways not good?
Did you want a critique from the very first word to the very last word? Or
I'm
just the
scared.
last
What
page?
did I give you?
Well, the first page and a half seems very familiar.
Mm-hmm.
So you want a critique on that?
Yes, well, because it
There's
is
some
very
changes.
familiar. Yeah, there's been mild revisions to it.
Okay.
This is supposed to be pretty close to final. So
Okay.
that is why it is submitted.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Got it.
You are in
Bye.
the isolation booth. Okay. I'm having a very hard time finding meat for this one. Like, I just enjoy this story so much. It's such a different, first of all, the scene, the setting, the characters are just like so good. I just really, really enjoy reading this. I love the character, the main character, that it's from her perspective, because I just want to know more about her, and I want to know, like, what has happened in her life. And then we get introduced to all these other characters that are just so like different, and then she throws us for this complete loop where this old lady with a fake German accent and not lederhosen, what is it called, what women wear, whatever, and then she pulls out these like giant guns, and she's got a tattoo on her thigh, and it's just like, it's so Jamie, right? It's so like something that's so good and so well written that nobody else could write and nobody else could pull off, but Jamie can pull it off, and I just love that. I think the only meat I have is early on, in I think her second or third paragraph, she wrote something about, here it is here, that she flicked her cigarette, and then the next paragraph something was flickering. That was it. That's the only thing I could really find that I have an issue with, is that it was just too much flickering that close to each other. That was it. I just really enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to see what happens next. That was me.
Yeah, I absolutely love Jamie's, the way she writes characters.
Mm-hmm.
Her characters are never cliche unless it's on purpose and for a reason. And it's usually for a really funny reason if they're cliche. So I just love her characters. And I loved this whole thing, especially, I was just rolling at the end. Like, I was literally laughing. I wrote LOL on here because I was literally laughing out loud. It was, and then to have the customer pull a handgun out of her purse.
What kind of town is this? I mean, I know that people would be shocked to know how many people actually have handguns in their purses on a daily basis here around where we live. But at the same time, it's like, it's still kind of shocking to read the story and be like, what?
Right.
Yeah.
If I had any meat, I don't have anything negative written on here except for this is the second sentence. I think it's part of the first sentence. That where they took a drag from their Marlboro menthol, because I've used to smoke and I've smoked Marlboro menthols and I could taste it, and it made me want to. But that's probably a compliment because she took me right there. I just loved it, and I loved that it was called the Schnitzel's Diner. Like, that was hilarious. Her writing always makes me laugh, unless it's like purposely really sad or whatever. But
I wonder if other people in other parts of the country and other parts of the world will understand or laugh as much as we do at the Little Bavaria kind of setting, because we live so close to Frankenmuth, a tourist town that is so much like this. And by living here in Michigan, we are surrounded by, it is very much a German-esque, lots of like families that have, Rhonda, you're much more into genealogy than I am, but I know there's lots of German settlers and lots of, and so it just like, it's not a big deal to like, oh, all the German language is a lot more familiar to me than other people, but it also makes me laugh harder too. So I don't know. I love it.
yeah, it was really good.
How about you, Rhonda?
Okay, my turn. All right. Okay. I also do not have any meat, I don't think. It feels to me like this is very complete and like it's already been through its final editing. There's not one complaint I have. In fact, one of the improvements is I do not know very much German. And one of the things that made me stumble before were some of the words. And I wasn't sure. And so where she put it at the top, the little dictionary there, and then anyone approaching from the outside would read the German word, and then she wrote closed. I feel like she did that just for me. But then you get to the very last word. What does that mean? What? I don't know. Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is she like a pharaoh? I don't know. I mean, it's obviously something surprising. So I will need to look that word up just to find out how the story.
She defined it in the paragraph before that.
The
okay,
top
I'm not
of
done
that.
yet. I've got a few more things to say. Let's see. I thought.
She can't hear us.
Okay, so the Frau Miller. You kind of get a little bit of her character when she says the wax is getting low. It needs fielding. It's like there's no friendliness. It's just, but I'm very empathetic to the beginning character. Do we even know her name? We must know her name. Why don't I know that? Anyway, the girl in the beginning, very empathetic to her. But then the Frau, I just want to know about her. I couldn't care about anything else. She's very, very interesting. But something typical of Jamie, the number one thing that I love about Jamie's writing, I'll read you a sentence. I looked over to where the customer sat, seemingly forgotten. She'd helped herself to the wax remover and was scrubbing the remnants of the sticky stuff off her face. Those little details do it for me in these stories. So that's all I have to say.
Holenhand, she defines it at the top of that same page. If you look at
what?
She defines it at the top of that same page. In the writing, she says Holenhand.
Holenhand.
The armed Fräulein replied, the hounds of hell.
I have no idea how I missed that.
All right.
All right. Well, I know now. Mystery solved.
Anyone
Feel like I
else
have
have
nothing to do the rest of the day now.
anyone else have anything else to say?
What really struck me about the story was the main character's attitude, like, oh, you guys are getting all upset about bikers, like they're just bikers, and then they turn out to be like these evil that was what got me. That got me because I was agreeing with the main character. I was like, bikers, they're probably like middle-aged church-going husbands, like a lot of the bikers around here that I know.
Right.
But apparently they were more like, Hell's Angels or something.
Right.
So I loved that.
Anything
All right,
else?
should we let her out?
I say yes.
Okay, let's let her out.
Okay, so did you all just have a meeting and conspire to just be super nice to me? Because I
No,
really was like,
It's not in my character, really.
I'm going to have to just brace myself to hear it where I left out something or made it not work, or I was ready to hear it. And this means so much to me because this is the launching piece. And so I'm really glad that achieved what I wanted it to achieve. And especially the point that Tina made about the girl being like, oh, you guys just don't understand bikers and you're just judging out of hand. And then for her to, like, she has a lot of growing up to do and does not think that she does. You know, she's wise in her own eyes and thinks that she knows old people don't know what's up. And so, anyway, I want to tell you a whole lot more, but this will be my launching Patreon piece, and I'm glad that it does what I want it to do. So thank you for the good feedback. So I do have a question for you because it did not come up and it was a possible thing. Did any of you think, why doesn't someone call the police? Like, would that ever occur to you if the action just kind of kept rolling and things just escalated? Like, would it not occur to you that someone should get a phone and call 911?
No, because you said they like to go into little towns like this, vulnerable, little police protection.
Right.
So it didn't occur to me, no.
And the fact that they pulled out like semi-automatic giant weapons or whatever, I'm thinking there's no way they're calling the police because there's something else up here. Like he was, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, there's no way they're calling the cops because there's something going on.
They got the police outgunned. So.
Yeah. Well, that would have had to been the kind of answer I would have had to throw back at you, and I just didn't know if, like, you know, Susie Reeder would be like, what? Come on. By now, someone would have had a phone out. Because these are, like, criminal people, right? Like, so, you know, oh, I'm calling the police because you stole my marijuana, right? Like, that's not going to happen. Okay. And then also, this is really interesting because it has violence, you know, and, you know, the words hounds of hell and all of this. And so you wonder, what is the market? And I hope that the people who are watching the podcast weren't like offended by my piece or something like that. But this is just kind of what comes out when I write. And so it's interesting. Do I need to, you know, this is like a PG-13 kind of a story, or like, how do I kind of telegraph to people that this is not going to be as squeaky clean as they might expect from something that says Christian biker story, like, because I'm not marketing that way,
right?
But you know, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
There's 3 Christian women here that loved what you just wrote.
Thank you.
And I cannot wait until you send me more of this story. I mean, if I have to buy it, fine, I'll buy it. But I love it, and there's nothing blasphemous. And you know, if you're talking about biker gangs, Hell's Angels is
right.
It's got the word hell in it.
Right.
And we're not swearing.
Right.
So I don't think
it's
that's
just interesting to think about. So I appreciate that feedback. It's really good.
Yeah, for me, when I'm reading a book, the only things that will make me put it down as far as whether it, what you're talking about is if it's full of swearing or if it has explicit sexual scenes in it. I guess I don't care about violence. Violence doesn't bother me.
I would not. I'd put it down.
Right, blasphemy. Yeah.
It's really, and it's really interesting when you think of art in general. If art is to convey the human experience, you know, because Jen and I kind of went back and forth about this. You know, she had a character that was an alcoholic and actively drinking in her books, right? And so I'm sure there are people who would say, well, that's not a book for me or something. But how do you express humanity without talking about the parts that are ugly? You know, if you only talk about people who have it all together and are doing it right, I don't see much story happening there.
I was going to say, if there's no sin in your book, then what's the point in reading it?
Well, yeah, because where's the grace? If all of us are sinless, then what's the point of grace? You know.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thanks for having that side conversation with me. I so just really appreciate this good feedback. I really am excited now to have you read the rest of it because I love this one character that comes up, whatever. But I don't think any of you will like the ending. Just saying.
Don't tell me that now. Wait.
Well, you might. I don't know. We'll see.
Awesome.
Okay.
Do you feel like you got good feedback?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to cry. Aww. So very nice. I really appreciate it.
1 cry per person per episode.
I cry.
Oh my goodness!
I cry every episode when I have to start being quiet.
All right. Well, I gotta say, you all have way better camera quality than I do. I'm looking at my pasty gray face. Well, I think it's because my camera. Does y'all camera have a light on it? Like my camera shines a light right on my face.
No,
Mm-mm.
I think maybe I need to get a webcam.
I
That
was
won't
thinking
do
about
that.
doing that too. To have a separate
But your
webcam.
camera looks good. Like you look good.
Yeah.
in the frame.
Those-
Well, you know, I mean, pfft.
Everybody
It's not the
watching
camera.
needs to comment about how beautiful everyone was. We need a new webcam.
If we're not beautiful, don't comment.
Right. Yes.
That Jen, she's got a great personality on that podcast.
I know. It's so
She's got a
easy.
face a mother could love.
Yeah,
I just was hoping audio only would be available, so
I know. I'm the one that
I have
pushed for
face
the
for
video.
radio. But if we have also audio, but anyway, yeah, because I think if I had, because there's really like a pin of light that shines right on my face, and no matter how I sit or if I open a window, it's weird.
That's
Yeah, it
Anyway.
washes you out, so that's why.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So what do we do now? Like
I
we don't
guess
have
we-
a script or.
Right. I guess we just say goodbye until next week. Thank you everyone for
Bye.
subscribing to our Patreon. Let us know there's comments, right, on Patreon. I don't have a Patreon, so I don't know. Let us know
Yes.
what kind of
Yes.
things you would like through our Patreon as a special member. What are some things you'd like to see? What are some insider information that you might want, or maybe things you'd like us to do? Maybe you want us to do some webinars, or maybe you want us to offer for more money, maybe offer critiques of your writing. Who knows? Let us know in the comments what you would like to see from us.
All right.
All right.
Yay, bye.
Thanks
Yay,
for
so
joining
bye
us.
till next time.
Yep. Bye. Great job, guys.